I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and anybody who's late can just watch the recording and catch up. So, for anybody here who doesn't know me, I am Val, and I really love working with schools, so I thought I would just do this little training. I don't know, I call it a training, but I'm not exactly a pro or anything. I've done one book fair and 4 readathons last school year, and I have another readathon next week that I'm just trying to get ready for. So, I'm not a pro by any means, but I do love readathons, and I kind of feel like I've done enough trial and error with them that I kind of know how to do it pretty good now. So um, I live out in the middle of nowhere in southern Saskatchewan, so I pretty much just do like rural small town schools, whatever is close by. And I really find that small towns are amazing. I think maybe it's because not I don't know what city schools are like, but I know like for our school, there's not a lot of budget. So the teachers, the librarian, there's not a lot of budget for books. And so when I approached them, offering them amazing Usborne books, it's really hard to say no. So my book fair that I did that in the city, and it was a private Catholic school. Christian school. I don't know what the difference is. It was called Cornerstone Christian School. Anyway, the school was, and so I did a 3-day book fair there over school like teacher interviews, and it went okay. The book fair only generated about $900 in sales, so it wasn't really as good as I hoped it would be. My best readathon was $3,750. So the school ended up getting $1,750 worth of free books. So it was pretty amazing. So I really feel like readathons are just a lot more successful for me. So that's kind of what I push when I'm going to a school. But I'll back up. So the reason that I really, really love working with schools, besides the fact that commission is pretty amazing, on that readathon that I was just saying, the $3,700 one, I think my commission was about $600. So there's not very many places where you can just go and make $600. It was really great. And it's so fun. The kids are so excited. They fall in love with the books, and they're excited about the books, and they're motivated to run out and collect pledges to try to get as many books as they can get. And they're just really excited when they get to come and pick out their books without their parents there. They get to just pick out whatever they want, and it's just really fun. The staff is always super grateful that they get to pick out all of these amazing books for their shelves, and the librarian. I've done it both ways, where the librarian is getting all of the books for the library, and another way where all of the teachers are picking books for their classrooms. And it works out the same either way. It's just really great to get all the books into the school. So that's why I love schools. If you want to go and approach a school, you have to do the educational specialist training first. And you can't do that until you have at least $1,000 worth of sales in. And the reason for that is because the company wants to make sure that you know how to use the ordering system, you know the books, you understand the reading levels, and that when you go into a school that you can be super professional and you know what you're talking about when you're there. So you have to have that $1,000 in sales in, and then you can contact your supervisor and say, hey, I'm ready to do this. Let's do this training. So all you have to do, if you're on my team, I know that some of Sharon's team is here too. I'm not sure how Sharon does it, but if you're on my team, if you want to do the training, all you have to do is go onto the website, and under consultant tools, you can find the schools part, and just download the little link that says educational specialist training package or something like that, and just download it and read through it. And then I also have a video that my team has to watch, and it was Carol Cooper, who is like, she's our upline. She's like executive supervisor or something like that above me. And she is a book fair guru. That is what she does. She does dozens and dozens of schools, and she's actually been with the company for like 25 years. She knows every book inside and out. So I had her do a training for my team about a year ago. And so that's the video that I make my people watch, so that they can learn everything from who knows best, is Carol. So we have that video, and if you're on Sharon's team, I'll put that video on your group too, so you can watch it. And then I just have like a little exam that's like a Google form kind of exam that you just have to go through and fill out. And it's mostly multiple choice or short answer form. So it's really easy. You just fill that out. And then once you're done, I'll message the office, let them know that you've completed it. And then you send in a code of ethics, which you just print off the website. You do also have to have a minimum of 200 books in your stock that you can take to the school. So it has to be 200. It can't just be like, oh, I have 200 books at home. This is great. It has to be 200 books that are a really good variety for school-age children. You don't really want to bring baby books or anything like that. You could bring a few for siblings or something that might come in. But for the most part, you need stuff that's for the elementary and the older kids. So you have to make sure that you have a good variety. And Carol has given us a really great list to go by. So if you're building up your stock, that you can kind of follow this list of what she finds is the most popular and kind of go by that when you're picking your books. I would never suggest that you have to go out and buy $200 or two books for this. Use all of your discounts that you can. Use your 30 for 30, buy customer specials, try to hit monthly bonus all the time. Do whatever you can to get as many free books as you can, and you don't have to go broke to try to do this. And I know that some people are willing to kind of share their stock. So if they're going into a school, you could borrow from a friend or something. There's lots of ways that you can kind of just build up your stock to approach a school. The number one most important thing to know about approaching a school, Amanda, the list is in our files. I can't remember what it's called, but it's called like Carol's top selling school list or something like that. I'll tag you in it when we're done. When you approach a school, you have to make sure that one of the very first things out of your mouth is that you're asking them if they're already working with another Usborne consultant, because if they are, they're kind of like out of bounds. Like that is just a rule from the company, is that you have to make sure that they're not already being serviced by someone else first, because that's just the way it is. People who are servicing a school, they don't generally give them up, but I know that there's a lot of schools that are wide open. So just make sure that you're asking first. And you really need to have a really good idea of what services we offer when you're going in. So we provide 3 services to a school. A school order, which is very simple. A teacher or a school, they can order books off you. The minimum for a discount is $100 worth of books. So they give you a $100 minimum order, and then you can give them a 15% discount. And once you have your educational specialist training and the office has changed your account over, it actually shows up, when you're putting in an order, and you can choose like exhibit order or party order. It will come up school order. You can do readathon. You can do whatever. There's all those choices that'll show up after you've got your training done. So school order. Then the other service that we provide to a school is a book fair or a literacy fair. And those are minimum $500 in sales. And then their benefit is they get 25% in free books. And if you're doing a book fair or a lit fair or whatever you want to call it, and it's lower than $500 in sales, it just goes in as a school order, and then it's 15%. And then readathon is 50-50. So let's say the kids bring in $5,000 worth of pledges, $2,500 goes back to the kids. They get to come in and pick out their books, and the other $2,500 would go straight to the school to pick. So it's just 50-50 even. Usborne does kick in an extra 5%. I generally use that 5% because I'm not in HST province. If you're in HST province, you just need to follow the calculation worksheet that's provided, because otherwise it kind of messes up the numbers with the HST in there. The calculation oh my God, I can't even talk. The worksheet was designed basically for HST provinces. If you're in a non-HST province, GST only, you don't really have to follow that worksheet. I just do an exhibit order, and I do the full $5,000 in sales, and then the free books is just kind of extra. And you can use it for prizes and stuff like that. When I do my readathon, I always do like prizes for the child who has the most pledges, for the child who has the most reading minutes, and then I do another prize for the classroom that has the most combined pledges. And I usually do like an ice cream sundae party. That's always what I've done. I haven't actually thought of something else that would be equally exciting, because all the kids just really think that's pretty awesome. Because who doesn't like ice cream sundaes? So to approach a school, you always want to go directly to the librarian. Oftentimes, the principal might tell you that they have been working with a consultant or have not been working with a consultant. They have no idea what's going on in the library for the most part. So you need to talk directly to the librarian. So always first thing, ask them if they're already being serviced by another consultant. And if they're not, then you can just tell them the 3 services we offer: the school order, the readathon, or the book fair. If you're not really comfortable doing a book fair, maybe just don't offer that. Just say, would you be interested in doing a readathon or something like that? You really just want to keep it not salesy. Like, you don't want to go in there and be like, oh, you should buy these books, they're really great. You will just want to make them want them. So come make an appointment, or just walk in or phone them, or whatever you got to do to get in there, and show up with like a basket full of books to show as an example. Just sample books to show what we have to offer. Make sure you take a catalog. On our website, there's also some sheets that you can print out that just kind of like an overview of what Usborne offers them. I've kind of changed them up a bit. I find that they're kind of old, so I've kind of changed them so that the wording sounds more like me. But you can just use whatever you find off there. So Carol always suggests taking like a beginner book, like something that goes really good with curriculum. So like Bees and Wasps, or Frogs and Tadpoles, or something. What's up?
Really.
Sorry.
I need something else.
You need food? Okay, you find something. To bring a little free book, make sure you put your information on it. I always sticker all my books. Bring a little freebie, just something as a thank you for meeting with you. And then
some noodles.
I will cook you some noodles after look at all these people are listening to me talk right now. Okay. So yeah, bring a catalog. Make sure that your information, your contact information, is on everything. I have little magnets that I got made up with my contact information. I kind of throw everything in there, just so that if they lose one thing, there's always more. Be professional. Do not bring your children in there with you. You just want to be all on your own. Make sure that you really do know what you're talking about before you go in. And again, don't be salesy, because there's nothing more annoying than when somebody's trying to push the books down your throat. Make them want them for free. I learned the hard way that when I was doing my readathon, that I really had to make sure that I did not bring books that were not in stock. So I've taken the catalog, basically. Some of you might have seen this before, the master catalog, they call it. Cut out all the pages and put them in sheet protectors, and then have to go through the website and sticker what's in stock and what is not, so that I can then go through my stock and take out everything that's unavailable, because it's really awful when people order things that you can't get them. So my catalog is, oh, careful. Okay, how about you go take them to the living room? My catalog's out of date. I really lost track of what I was doing before summer. So that's my goal for next week. So once I get it all finished, I will happily share that with you, so you guys can just kind of copy me if you want. I never do selling off the table, simply because I don't have enough stock for it. And I find that for the most part, most kids want the same thing. So I might go in there and sell like 10 copies of one book, and then 0 copies of many others, because lots of kids are drawn to certain books like Titanic, or I sell a lot of illustrated ghost stories, or just certain books really stand out to kids. And so I always just take orders instead of selling off the table. That way all the kids can get the same book if they want to. And it's just easier for me to do it that way. Carol, I know, who does a lot of book fairs and has a ton of stock, she just sells right off the table, and that works for her. You can kind of just decide what you want to do. If you do have book fair questions, though, I would tell you to just contact Carol directly. She is our upline. She is happy to answer any questions that we have. And she's so good about answering them. She knows everything. So if you have any book fair related questions, please just go directly to Carol, because like I said, my book fair was not the greatest and hers are always amazing. So I always stick to readathons. That is kind of my thing. I think that's it. Those are kind of all my notes. I kind of went through really fast. So unmute yourself if you have any questions, in case I missed something. No questions? Well, then I must have done a really good job.
Are you done?
I'm not done.
I'll throw a question.
Sure.
So can you explain what you do once you get the pledges from the students and they bring it in? Is there like a day in between where you're calculating how much they have, or how does that work once they bring the pledges to you?
Yes. Okay. So how I do my readathon is that I get all of these information packages made out. I go to usually the librarian kind of helps me with it. If it's a local school, then I'll just kind of go in and do all the printing myself. If it's a faraway school, to save me all of the effort, they do the printing for me. So I can show you a picture after of what I do. I have like the pledge sheet and then the instructions. The instructions go on the outside of like a big brown envelope, glue it on, and then the pledge sheet goes inside, and then the kids can put all of their money in it. When they bring it back, it's all in their envelope with their name on it. So it makes it way easier. So the very first day when I go into the school, I bring just a huge variety of books and I set them up in the library, and then the teachers kind of bring their classrooms down one by one. So I take about 10 minutes with each individual class, and I just explain to them how the readathon works, that they are going to go out and collect pledges, and that they're going to bring their money back in 10 days. I always do 10 days. They're going to bring their money back in 10 days, and then half of the money they collected, they get to spend on whatever books they want, and then the other half goes to the school to pick books. So they always leave really excited. I bring like all of like the top selling books, and I just spread them out all over tables in the library. So after they listen to me talk for a couple minutes, then they just kind of get to go around and touch all the books and flip through the books and find the ones that they love the most, and then they all leave very, very excited like they're ready. They want their information package, and they're ready to just go out and start collecting pledges. So I always give about 10, 12 days to collect the pledges. And for my one that I'm coming up to right now, I always try to plan it for like over Thanksgiving break or something. Anytime I did it over Easter break once, anytime when they're going to see grandparents, aunts and uncles, relatives, it kind of gives them a little bit of a bonus if they can see all these people to collect some pledges. I always make the checks payable directly to the school, and the school just cuts me a check at the end, and they keep all the cash and stuff. Always make sure that you have a staff member with you when you're counting the money, just for the sake of having them there. But so yeah, day one, I go in, I do my presentation for them. And then 10 days later, I come back, 10 or 12 days, I come back and I count up all the money and I set up all the display, and then they get to spend their money. So most of the schools have like a hot lunch program or like a class list. I usually just have the secretary print me off a class list, and I don't think you want to. Don't I want that. Could you wait? You have to. Yeah. Sorry. Apparently I didn't feed them enough. So I have them print me off a class list so I can just write how much money they are spending, and then I can kind of keep track that way. No, that's okay. And it depending where the school is, if the school is not really nearby, the librarian usually is happy for me to just ship the books to her and she'll sort them out and divide them. For my local schools, I always ship to me, and then I wrap up all the books individually and deliver them. And kids sometimes are upset about not being able to take their book with them that day, but when I explain to them that it's the only way that I can make sure that all the kids are getting the books that they want, and that it's kind of like Scholastics where you put your order in and then you have to wait a little bit. They're pretty fine about it. Nobody really complains too much. I did have a little girl steal a card pack off my table once. The pack she wanted, she just thought she'd take it home with her. And so then I didn't notice. And when I got the pack in the mail and I gave it to her, she's like, but I already have it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And their mom's like, well, what do you mean? She brought it home that day. So yeah, make sure you watch the children. The teachers usually bring them in groups of like 5 kids at a time or something like that when they're peaking, so it doesn't get like super crazy. It kind of just depends on like the size of the school. Sometimes the whole grade can come in because there's only 10 of them, so it's not really a big deal. Kind of just do it however works for you. Do the schools that I do still do Scholastics? They do, yeah. I did. They usually do a Scholastic book fair, but actually I just ran into somebody the other day. Sam, can you? Oh, I was going to mute you, okay? The other day I ran into a librarian that I had done a readathon for, and she asked me if I would do a book fair because she said they've done so many Scholastic book fairs and that they can only choose from like a certain catalog. And she's like, we have all the books pretty much. So they don't want to do Scholastics anymore. Like they're kind of bored with all the Scholastic books. So she asked me if I'd come do a book fair instead of doing a Scholastic book fair. So I think it's kind of hit and miss. I think you're going to get different results with different schools. But Scholastics doesn't offer a readathon. That's why I always kind of push the readathon, because it's something different. And I find that the sales are just so much better, because when you go into a book fair with your kid, you might give them 10 or 20 bucks to spend. But if the kid is out collecting pledges door to door, asking grandparents, they're going to come up with a lot more money, especially when they know they're in a contest. And if they have the most pledges, that they're going to win stuff. So they're a lot more motivated, and I find that the sales are just so much better than I've found with my one book fair. I'm sure book fairs are amazing, but for me, I've just found that readathons are so much more successful as far as how much money is being made. Yeah, I keep track of how much each kid gets to spend. So let's say a kid brings in 20 bucks, they get to spend $10, and then the school gets $10. So most of the time, the school and I just kind of agree, we disregard all the GST. That comes out of the extra 5% that the school gets as a bonus from Usborne, and we just kind of go by the retail value of the books. So they can pretty much pick anything that's $8.95 or $9.95. If they go over their $10, we kind of just, they went out and raised the money. So if they pick a book that's $11.95, we just let them take it. I've never had a librarian that's been like, nope, you only get $10. If they want something that's $11, whatever, we just let them. And it kind of comes out even in the end, because sometimes people will have like $2 left over that they can't spend because we don't have anything for $2. So then that extra kind of goes to the school. Nobody ever really complains about the extra money that they're losing. Like if they lose $1 or $2, they know it's going to the school, so it's not really a big deal. But yeah, I just keep track, and I actually bring my computer with me, and I sit down at the desk or whatever, and as the kids come up to me and tell me, they usually just bring me the book. I want this one, I plug it into my order, and I write it down. And that's how I know for sure that it hasn't gone out of stock and I haven't missed something. And if there's been a price change or anything like that, I know right there how much money they have to spend. Sometimes it can be a little chaotic, but it's not so bad. Like if you're only having, oh my God, sorry, a fox is on my sidewalk. That's weird. It's eating our cat food. There's a fox eating the cat food. Oh. Sorry, I kind of lost track of what we're talking about.
No, you want chocolate bar in.
What are we talking about? This is crazy.
You're talking about Usborne books.
I know.
Val, you were just messaging how you enter the orders as they bring you the book, so you know what's in stock.
Yes. So I keep track on my computer. I keep track on my paper, and then I'll just write, like, if the child has $1.15 left over, I just kind of keep track of that way. But it's really easy if you're doing it 50-50, right? So you can look at the end how much money's been spent, and then whatever's left over goes to the school. Does that make sense? Sorry, I feel totally scattered right now.
I have a question about HST provinces. So you waived the GST, so what would we do with HST as well?
Well, with HST, I don't know. We should maybe talk to somebody who does readathons in an HST province, but I'm pretty sure that if you're following the calculation worksheet, it includes all the GST and HST in it already. So however the math works out, it just tells you, like, if you follow the sheet, it'll tell you, like, to put this number here and this number here, and then this is how much goes into the standard section of the readathon order, and then the rest goes into, like, the free book order part. I do know somebody who's, like, the readathon person in Ontario, so I can put you in contact with her if you want to find out for sure how she does it exactly, because I just don't know. Like, I know for me it works out really well for just putting it in as actually an exhibit order, because I just do 50-50 and it works out even, because the shipping and the GST is kind of a wash, and then you're getting all these free books. And so that's just the easiest way I found to do it, is to just do it with an exhibit order. Does that make sense? Oh my God. See, this time of day isn't really ideal for me either. So I'm not really sure why I don't plan this for in the morning when I could actually think. And I do have another training that I did that's actually uploaded already that you could watch, that probably is a lot better than this one. Any other questions? Now is like a really great time to start approaching schools if you have your training, or you're close to having your training and you have the stock, because people like to do it, or the schools like to do it over, like, the times when the staff is, or when the parents are going to be in there. So, like, parent-teacher interviews coming up and stuff like that. So it's a good time to just kind of start approaching schools and getting your name into them. But of course, you need to make sure that you have the stock to back it up. So make sure that you are fully set before you go in and approach them. We only have 8 minutes left. And there is, like, in the files, or in the, like, on the Ethborn website, in the training package, there is, like, a step-by-step guide of how to do a readathon, because how I just explained it seems really chaotic, but there actually is, like, a step-by-step. Day 1, do this. Day whatever, do this.
Are you frozen, Val, or can you see Becky's question?
My connection is unstable, but it just came up. Would you suggest leaving the catalog or book basket?
That she's frozen.
Can you not hear me? All of you are frozen, not me.
I will answer it for her since she's frozen, but Becky messaged her directly. Oh, Val, you're back.
What the heck?
There.
It just, like, caught out. I'm like, I don't know what to do now.
I was just wrapping up because you left, and I answered Becky's question.
Yeah, so I don't know what you said, but definitely leave a catalog. I don't usually leave basket full of books anywhere, but I do bring them in so they can kind of just flip through them and look at them. For the most part, I feel like most of the schools that I've worked with have already been familiar with Usborne, so I haven't really had to really try to push it too much, because most of them have come to me wanting to do it. Once you get into one, I find it's so much easier to get into another, because you can say, look, I just got this school so many free books. When I'm emailing a school, I always send, like, whole bunch of pictures of like my book fair display because it very clearly shows the huge variety of books that Usborne has to offer. And then of course they're excited too because they see all of these books that appeal to all different age groups. So I try to send out pictures to anybody who isn't overly familiar with what I have to offer. Anything else? Chantel, you look like you have a question.
No, I'm just nervous to actually get into the schools. I know I just have to jump the gun and do it.
Every time I go to school, I feel like I'm gonna, my stomach turns. I feel like it's scary. And then I don't know why, because I've worked with so many schools now that like it shouldn't be scary, but it is. So your feelings are super valid. I find if you can go in person, it's so much less scary than a phone call because they can't hang up on you. They're going to hear you out. You're showing them all these books. You're offering them free books. It's hard to say no to somebody face to face when you're offering to do all of the work for them to get free books. So I really do recommend if you can get yourself a meeting or just show up. If it's your kid's school, just show up and chat with the librarian. It's so much less scary than phoning. And I don't know why, like phoning shouldn't be as scary as it is for me, but I'm not a phone person and I'm super shy. But for some reason, I can really easily talk face to face with somebody about the books because it's easy, especially when you have them to show. So it is scary, but it's so worth it. I mean, where else are you going to go and make a $600 commission? And it's just such a great, because then like the parents might fall in love with the books and want more. Like I always label all the books too before I wrap them up and send them out. I put my sticker on everything so that they know how to contact me if they want more, especially if it's not a local school. I mean, our school, everybody knows who I am. They know where to get more books if they want them. But if it's not my hometown, I sticker everything. But yeah, it can be scary. It is scary, but it's fun too. The kids make it so easy. When you go into the classroom or when the kids come into the library and they're just like oohing and awing over all the books, it just takes all the tension away. Like kids are just full of excitement. Actually, at my last readathon, when I was doing the ice cream sundae party for the classroom that had won for the most pledges, it was last October actually, because we had the party on their Halloween party, just so we could do all the sugar in one day and it wasn't disrupting any of their class time or anything, that because they were already having a party and all the kids were like, this is the best thing ever. I hope you do this readathon thing again next year. So it's exciting when the kids think it's fun too. And make sure that you offer prizes because it doesn't seem to matter what it is. And even for me, like if I'm offering a prize for doing something, it just pushes me even more. So if you're telling them that they have an opportunity to win a prize, and I never even tell them what the prize is. It's usually a free book and like a coupon for like a hot lunch meal or something, whatever the school wants to kind of pitch in. I do a free book and then they kind of offer something extra. But the kids don't even know what they're working towards. They just think that there's a prize and they want to win it. So I always push that part.
Oh, I did have another question. When you, does the school automatically assume that they're printing out all the papers, or is it something that they assume we are doing?
I just ask them, this is what you need to do, and I'll come in and do all the rest. So all they're really doing is printing out the sheets that you sent them and gluing them on the outside of an envelope and getting a bunch of background noise. I don't know where it's coming from. Yeah, nobody's ever complained about having to print it. I mean, the schools that I'm working with, there's maybe 50 kids, right? So it's nothing for them to just grab some envelopes out of the cupboard and print it off, and it's easy. All they're just doing is printing what you sent them. So it's not really very hard for them to do. And then it's ready for me when I come in, and then we can just hand them out to all the kids as they're leaving my presentation. And if you don't feel comfortable asking the school to print them, you could just print them yourself. But that's just at your expense, right? I just do recommend doing the envelope thing because it works really good. Because it was crazy. At this one readathon, when there was $3,700, it was just like bags of money being like piled on the table. And because sometimes kids don't count properly, you have to like go through all of the envelopes. It takes some time to go through all of the envelopes. Actually, at our school, I went in the day earlier to count the money because I didn't want to spend all that time doing it that morning. So if it's a local school, it's easier to kind of do a couple extra trips in. But if it's not a close by school, the librarian will count all the money and figure it all out for you. Just